Hey, I'm Philip with G6 Technology Services. In this video, we're going to be building a budget gaming PC. So let's take a look at what we've got. So here's the tower that we're going to be using for our budget gaming PC. It's a Dell Precision T3500 from 2010. We can see it's got Intel Xeon CPU, originally came with Windows 7. We're going to be putting Windows 10 on here. Just to take a quick look around, we've got a DVD rewritable drive, and we've got nothing in the floppy bay, some front panel audio and USB, our power button, and lots of ventilation. Nothing really to see on the sides, and I'll get it flipped around so we can take a look at the back. Alright, starting at the top, we've got our power supply. We have some expansion slots here, which we can see there's already a graphics card in one of these PCIe slots. So we'll take a look and see what that is. It's going to get replaced anyway. We've got our Ethernet. Let me get this out of the way. We've got our Ethernet, a couple more USB ports, more audio, more USB, PS2, parallel, and a serial port, which I'm sure they'll be using a lot of. So let's take a look at the inside and see what condition this thing is in. So these are really easy to open. You just pull the lever and open the side. There we go. Alright, so it looks pretty clean. It's not that bad. Little bit dusty, but definitely not bad. I don't know what this came off of. Let's see, our power supply. Where is, oh here, 500 watts. Is that the whole thing? Yeah, it looks like it. Not bad, we can work with that. We've got no hard drives. Here's our CPU and cooler and our system memory, which actually there isn't any, but that's where it would go. Then we've got, there's our PCIe power, which this graphics card, which is an NVIDIA Quadro, does not need, but we will be using it. And yeah, we do have plenty of extra PCIe slots there. And overall, plenty of room to do any kind of modification. So the idea is we're going to replace this graphics card with a better one, put in a couple of SSDs, and put some RAM in there. I think we're going for the max on this one, which is 24 gigabytes. I actually got a chart here. Let me try and get some of this stuff out of the way. So this is the memory configuration chart for this computer. So you can't just randomly put memory in there. It has to be in one of these configurations. It originally, some of the other ones, this came from an auction lot, and I got 6 of them. And they all came with 6 1 gigabyte modules. So I guess I took them out of this one, or it just didn't come with any, I don't remember. So we're going to be filling every slot with 4, and that will give us 24. So let's get the parts that we'll be using laid out so we can see what we've got. Alright, so our graphics card is going to be this, that's whatever you call it, low profile, doesn't stick out the whole way, this EVGA GTX 1060. And then we've got this assortment of RAM here that the customer brought in. So they're all 4 gigabyte modules, and they're all the same speed. So we're going to put 6 of those in there in this GPU. And then we've got a couple of SSDs that I forgot to get, so let's get those real quick. Our SSDs, we have a 240 gigabyte Patriot Burst Elite, which is going to be our boot drive, and then we have a 500 gigabyte Samsung 870 EVO, which is going to be for storage. So here are all of the components that we have. So the first thing that I'm going to do is we're going to clean up this tower because it's a little bit dirty. And then we'll go ahead and start assembling things. So we'll give the front a little bit of a wipe. And then we've got some sticker residue that we need to remove. There's some right here and some up here. So we're going to spray some of our cleaner on there and just let it sit for a minute. Try not to get it everywhere. And then I use a plastic spudger to try and scrape away some of that residue, so that way it doesn't scratch the plastic case. Still have a little bit on there. Alright, I think we got all of that part off, so now we just have to focus on the bottom one, which we're probably going to end up having to get the magic eraser for that one. So this is the magic eraser, and those work really well for getting adhesive residue off. So you can kind of see where the adhesive residue is, so we're just going to keep working at that until it's gone. Alright, so we pretty much got that all off of there. We did get a little bit of magic eraser debris down in the side here, so we're just going to try and work some of that out. Okay. Looks like we've got everything there. So that looks a lot better. I'm just going to give it one more wipe. Now we're going to need to focus on the top. We have to get this adhesive residue off and then peel off these two pieces of Velcro and then get that adhesive residue off. So for surfaces that are horizontal where you can let stuff sit and it's not going to run, I like to use this 3M cleaner, and all you have to do, it's a lot easier than having to scrub with that magic eraser. You just spray some on. Try to get it off of the serial number sticker because it'll take the ink off. And all you do is just let that sit for a few minutes. And then once we're done with that, I'm just going to take this plastic spudger and you just kind of start scraping at it. Like that, and then it'll come off. So I'm just going to let that sit for a minute, make sure to mind the drips. We don't want it to run down into the case. So I'm just going to let that sit for a couple minutes, then we'll come back. Alright, so this has been sitting for a while, so I'm just going to keep trying to work at it with this plastic scraper. And you can kind of see, if you're right above it, some of the paper starting to come off. That's what that is. It's not foam. There's actually paper from this paper label that was here. So this sometimes can take a couple of passes to get everything off, but it can just save your arms a little bit from all the scrubbing of using the magic eraser. So either way works just fine, it's up to you. So let's see what we have so far. So that took most of it off, so we'll have to do a little bit more. And there we go. Now we're going to try and take this Velcro off of here. Hopefully that doesn't end up being more trouble than it's worth, but this is the prickly side of the Velcro. Let me grab something to grab that with. Alright, got a pair of pliers I'm just going to use to grab the corner of this Velcro because it is actually pretty sticky. Okay, that actually came off really nicely, and there really is no residue. There's a little bit. So we'll just use the same technique. We'll just spray a little bit on. Actually, there's so little on there, I'm just going to go ahead with the magic eraser. I think that would be faster. Yeah, that's already gone. Alright. So top of there is looking a lot nicer now. So we'll go ahead and try for that other one, do the same thing. Alright, so hopefully this one comes off just as easily as the other one. I do have to be a little bit careful because it's on a sticker. And I don't want to pull the sticker off. Just try and separate this a little bit. Alright, that's off of there. That one made a little bit more of a mess. There's some residue on there. I'm going to try and get that off, but it's probably going to end up taking most of the ink off of here. So we'll see how that goes. But that's all just regulatory information. It's not too critical. Yeah, that has taken all the ink off. But it's so sticky, you wouldn't want to leave that adhesive on there. It's too bad that didn't come off as cleanly as the other. So it left a kind of a sticky mess. So I'll work on getting that off of there. Well, I tried to save that sticker, but it was taking all the ink off, so what's the point of having a sticker with no letters on it? So I just took the whole sticker off. So that's it for the top, and I think that's actually all of the adhesive residue, so I'm just going to give it a once over with the spray and the rag just to get the dust off. So I'm going to put the side panel back on. And we're just going to give it a quick wipe. We already did the front, that looks pretty good still. A little bit of dust, so we'll have to blow that out. Okay, we're done with this piece for a little while. So now we need to focus on cleaning up the inside. So I'm going to blow some of the dust out of here. I'm going to take that outside to do that. I don't want all the dust blowing around in my workshop. So I'll show you a little bit first, just the level of dust, which it really isn't that bad. So there's a little bit in the front grille, a little bit inside here, and then in the bottom of the case, just a bit. We've got a little bit, on top of these pieces. Got some on top of the CPU cooler, but it doesn't look like there's actually much in between, which is good. And a little bit inside this front fan assembly. Power supply's got a little bit. So yeah, it is pretty clean, but I'm just going to go ahead and we'll blow all this out of there. Alright, I think that's pretty decent. We got all the big chunks out from the bottom. Got our CPU cooler cleaned out. All of our other bits and pieces. So like I said, there wasn't really much in there to begin with. So next we're going to lay it over on its side and start assembling. Alright, so I guess the first thing we'll do is I'll start putting the RAM in. I guess that's the easiest thing. So we've got a few of them to do. Alright, there we go. That should be our 24 gigs of RAM. So now we'll go ahead and pop this graphics card out. Alright. We'll install our new one. I'm going to have to remove another one of these blank covers, and that's just going to sit right down in the same slot. Alright, that didn't quite go down in there all the way. Okay, I think we're good now. And we'll close our retainer. And we'll go ahead and plug in our SATA power cable, so we don't forget to do that. Okay, so we're good to go on the graphics card. Then we'll go ahead and install our SSDs. Alright, so we'll start with our boot drive. And through the use of our super high-tech mounting brackets, we will secure this boot drive to the frame here. Alright, got that one in. It was fighting with me a little bit. So now we'll do our other one. Okay, perfect. So we can secure our bracket, start making our connections. Okay, there we go. So we've got most of our components all situated. Do want to double check a couple of things, since these are now 12-year-old towers. I do want to check that the memory, or the BIOS battery, is still good, which is down in this little hole. So I'm going to pop that out and test it real quick. Alright, this is our battery right here. Oh, you can't see that. It's right there. So I'm going to go ahead and pop that out. So it just pops right up. Just lift that out of there. So I'm going to grab the multimeter and see what we have here. Alright, so we've got our battery. We'll put our probes to it. Let's see what we get. Absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. This thing is deader than a doornail. So we're going to be replacing this battery. Alright, so we got our juicy new CR2032. So we're going to go ahead and test this just to make sure. Yep, there we go. 3.2 volts. That is a brand new, fully charged battery. So that will definitely help things out. We're going to go ahead and install that. Alright, so we're going to reinstall our battery. We just drop that in, press it down. No, you couldn't really see that, but I couldn't really get a better angle on it. So we've got our fresh battery in there. So the next thing that I'm going to do is take the CPU heatsink off, and we're going to reapply thermal compound to the heatsink here. So we'll just loosen up some of these screws. Try and do this in a star pattern or diagonal pattern, just so that we try to loosen both sides at about the same amount, so we don't have one side being loosened all the way and the other side not. Oh, there we go. Alright. So that's not actually that bad. It's still a little bit wet in the middle, but we're still going to replace it. So we're going to start by cleaning both surfaces. Alright, so what I like to do is just get a paper towel and wrap it around, oh, you couldn't see that, wrap it around the end of the plastic spudger, the flat end. And we're just going to use that to kind of scrape off the bulk compound. And then after that, we're going to use some rubbing alcohol and some Q-tips to clean the surface, prepare it for the new layer of compound. And this is especially helpful if it's still wet, which this is not really. It was a little bit crusty. Alright, so we got the bulk of it off there. So now we're going to move to our Q-tip and rubbing alcohol. Just start trying to get rid of any of the residue. And then we'll switch to a clean side and do it again. Alright, I think that's about as clean as we're going to get it. You can still kind of see, you can still kind of see the outline of where the old compound was and where the CPU is touching it, but I've got that as clean as I can, so I'm going to put that off to the side and let it dry. Now we're basically just going to do the exact same thing on the inside with the processor. so now we'll do the same thing, get our Q-tip with the alcohol, and just start cleaning. Alright, there we go. So we're just going to wait for that to dry. And now we're going to go ahead and add some new thermal compound. So I just have this little syringe in here. And then we'll go ahead and put our heat sink back on. So it's just going to go right where it was before. And then we'll want to do the same thing that we did last time, where we just use kind of a star pattern. So I like to start the opposite corners first. If you have a longer screwdriver, this would be easier, but I don't. So I'm just going to go ahead and finish doing that. We'll just continue in a star pattern until they're all tight. Alright, everything looks like it's all buttoned back up now, so we're going to go ahead and close our drive bracket, tuck our cables under, and then something that I like to do is whenever you have spare parts like this, you never know when you might need them again, so I like to include them in the case somehow. So I think what I'm going to do is zip tie this somewhere convenient. I'm not sure where yet. Put it somewhere in here, and that way next time somebody services this, if they end up taking this graphics card out and they want to put the blank plate back in, it's going to be in here. Alright, so I've set our PC back up. I need to reinstall this air shroud for the RAM, and then I can close the drive bracket. And what I ended up doing was just putting this extra blank plate down here and just zip tying it into place, so that's not going to rattle around or go anywhere. And then if anyone ever needs it, it's in here. So that pretty much wraps up the inside of here, unless I can think of something else. So we're going to go ahead and put the side panel back on. And then we'll go ahead and get it connected and start installing Windows. Alright, so we'll start making some connections here. Got our HDMI, got our keyboard and mouse. Got our Windows install flash drive. And then I'm not going to put our network cable in yet because we don't want Windows to force us to set up a Microsoft account. Then we're going to put our power cord in, and hopefully it doesn't blow up. Looks like it's starting to turn on, so I'm going to go ahead and start hitting F2 because we're going to need to change some settings in the BIOS because these things often had 2 drives in there and they were configured with RAID, which we don't want. I don't know what this new graphics card in. Oh, there we go. Okay. Yeah, sometimes these Precisions don't like other graphics cards. Yeah, see, so they have RAID turned on here, so we're going to want to turn that off. So I'm going to zoom in on the screen so you can see what we're doing. Alright, so just some of the standard configuration I like to do. We'll just verify on the information screen system board that we have everything we're looking for. So all of our memory modules are detected for a total of 24 gigabytes. Our processor is detected as a Xeon W3530. So it looks like, let's see, 2.8 gigahertz. It's not showing number of cores unless I just can't see it for some reason, but it does have hyper-threading. I believe this is a multi-core capable quad. Okay, so does that mean it's a quad core? I was going to say I think this is a quad core with hyper-threading, so you have 8 threads. Our PCIe slots, I think that's what that is, VGA compatible, so that's going to be our graphics card. So nothing to change here, it's just informational. Date and time, we'll go ahead and put our date and time in here. It is January, I think it's the 25th, 2022. What time is it? It is 6:54 p.m. Okay. Boot sequence. This is okay. We're going to be booting off of our Patriot first. USB device at the bottom. That's okay. So I think this is fine. We're going to undo network controller though, just to try and save some time so it doesn't try to boot from that. Let's see. Yeah, that's fine. Next thing under drives. That's fine. SATA operation. We don't want to have SATA operation RAID on. We don't want that. We want to just have it on auto detect AHCI. Yes, continue, apply. Smart reporting, sure, we'll turn that on. Drives, this is where we have our drives enabled or disabled, so it looks like this is either the same configuration or it auto detected, so we have 0, 1, which are our SSDs. Yep, and then 2 is not 2, where did it go? Over here, that's our optical drive. 3 and 4 are not populated, and then our eSATA, which I guess we'll just leave that on. I don't see that. Oh yeah, there it is. It does have eSATA on the back. I don't think I mentioned that when I went over the ports. I must have not seen it. Let's see, integrated NIC. Good. I like to have enable, not enable with PXE because that just makes it boot faster, I think. USB controller, we're good. All these other ones, don't really mess with. Just make sure all this is turned on under miscellaneous devices so none of your ports inexplicably don't work. Video, I don't change that, it's fine how it is. Performance, this has caught me a couple of times by surprise flipping through these. Some of these are not on. So multi-core support we want on. Hyperthreading, I don't know why that's not turned on, we want that. Turbo boost we want, speed step. Yeah, we'll go ahead and turn that on. And then the rest of this, I don't really think makes much of a difference. So we'll leave that. Virtualization support, that depends on what you're doing. This is not being used for virtualization, so I'm just going to leave that off. Security, we want to make sure that these are all not set. And then TPM, I'll turn the TPM on in case they want it. All this stuff looks like it's okay. All these passwords are not set. Power management, AC recovery. This is mostly a user preference. I tend to like power off because then if the power goes off and comes back on repeatedly, it's not powering on and off your system a lot. You can wait until it's stable again and then turn it back on. But if it's a server or something, you might want it on last power state or power on. Auto on time we don't want. Disable that. Low power mode, I guess that's a user preference. I'm not going to put that on. Remote wake up, don't need that. And then from here on, the rest of this isn't really important, so we'll just leave all of this how it is. I do like to change post behavior to fast boot if it's not already on, just to speed up booting. That's okay. System logs, we don't really need to look in there. Yeah, this battery was bad, so we fixed that. So that looks like everything is all set how we want it. So make sure and hit apply. I've been doing it after each step. You can wait until the end, I guess. And then hit exit. And then I like to just press F12. Even though our boot settings should allow that USB drive to boot, I like to specifically make sure I'm selecting it. So we'll just tap F12 until we get our boot menu. And then select our Windows 10 installation. There we go. Okay, USB device. Memory failure detected in DIMM 1. Alright, well let me reseat that and we'll see if that goes away. Okay, so now it says the amount of system memory has changed, so I'm going to hit F2 to look in there again just to make sure it's showing everything. Yep, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It looks like everything's there. So I just took that first RAM module out and put it back in. That seems to have cleared it up, so it must not have been seated all the way. That happens sometimes. So we're just going to try this again. Going to keep tapping F12 until it says preparing one-time boot menu. And then we're going to go down to USB device. And then it should start booting up off the flash drive. So from here on, it's pretty much a standard Windows installation. So I think this video is already getting pretty long, so I'm not going to go through every detail of this Windows installation, but I'll just come back once we've got Windows on it. Alright, so everything's installed. I got the second disk partition formatted, all the drivers installed. It looks like everything's detected. We've got all 24 gigs of memory, have our 4 cores with our 8 threads for the CPU. Our graphics card's working, so I think we're all set. This is going to be a decent budget gaming PC. There's not going to be any benchmarks or anything. This is set up for a customer, so I'm not going to go and install a bunch of stuff on there. But it looks like it'll be a fairly capable machine. So anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you next time.